Republican Congressman Peter King is the latest in a long line of Republicans who are not going to be running for re-election in this upcoming election. It's like the in thing now. He's been in Congress for more than 25 years, and as of this morning, posted this statement saying, "I've decided not to be a candidate for re-election to Congress in 2020. The prime reason for my decision was that after 28 years of spending 4 days a week in Washington, D.C., it is time to end the weekly commute and be home in Seaford," which could be true, but is also what they always say. I mean, they always say it's to spend more time with family. Maybe it's true, I don't know. 25 years is a long time. A lot can happen in that time. A lot has in the last couple of years for the Republican Party. So we can speculate about why exactly he's not going to be running, but you should understand that there's nearly 20 Republicans who already have said they're not going to be running for re-election, which is quite a lot, especially considering how many didn't run for re-election in 2018. So you would think that after getting all of those people who were just not interested in being around anymore, that you would have sort of tapped out that resource, but no, there's still more, almost 24 so far.
And it's a cowardly way out because they're all going down swinging. They're all going down like with this idea that they don't want the Republicans to be mad at them. So I can't do this anymore. This is wild. This is too much. This is not what I signed up for. This is not what I believe in. So I cannot do this anymore. But until I leave, I'm gonna force myself to kiss the ring because I don't want all of you to be mad at me.
Yeah, it's as an outsider, I can look at that and say that's really pathetic, and it is. But also, they would be really mad at them. Like it doesn't matter where you are in America. There's no elected Republican who is truly insulated from their entire base, at least in theory, turning on them if they turn on Donald Trump, or are even perceived to turn on Donald Trump. Like Jeff Sessions, he did that like hostage video of how much he loves Donald Trump still, and then Donald Trump turned around the next day and went to a football game with his rival. Like there is no amount of kissing the ring that you can do to necessarily to protect you like for the next 2 years. Right, it's like always going to be contingent.
Right, but like Ted Cruz makes it look really comfy, I think.
Yeah.
And so they're like, all right, it's not so bad. Dignity, what is that?
Yeah.
Going to heaven.
I don't even remember dignity.
What is that? Like, you know, I'm just like.
So here's the thing, we're talking about him as an example of this trend, but he's also his own individual.
Yeah.
And some people really sad to see him go, including Chuck Schumer, saying Peter King stood head and shoulders above everyone else. He's been principled and never let others push him away from his principles. He's fiercely loved America, Long Island, and his Irish heritage, and left a lasting mark on all three. I will miss him in Congress and value his friendship. So he would never let anyone push him away from his principles. But what are his principles? Let's talk about just a few of the standouts from his 25 years. Here's a little video putting together his takes on 3 different topics, from like the most serious to the most sort of silly, but also kind of serious, as you'll see.
Unfortunately, we have too many mosques in this country. There's too many people who are sympathetic to radical Islam. You had a 350-pound person who was resisting arrest. The police were trying to bring him down as quickly as possible. If he had not had asthma and a heart condition and was so obese, that almost definitely he would not have died from this. And he comes out, yes, with this new suit on.
Why did you take issue with the suit?
Because you know the image makers in the White House. Here's a president coming out at such a serious moment where he should be addressing the country on such a serious matter, and he looked like he was on his way to a party at the Hamptons. And I just thought it detracted from the seriousness of the moment. It's different, for instance, than what David Cameron, the way he addressed the British people today. To me, it did not show the seriousness of purpose that you need from a commander-in-chief at such a serious time as this.
Even when we've seen other former presidents, President Clinton, President Reagan, I believe, addressing the nation in similar attire?
At a moment like this, when the whole country is waiting to see, and the whole world is waiting to see, to me, at least he could have won whatever he wanted if he addressed the issue head on. But to come out and start talking about the economy, to me, just detracted from the seriousness of the moment. And I thought the suit was a metaphor for his lack of seriousness.
It became a metaphor.
Wait.
But because of you guys.
Also, the audacity to be sitting there with your shirt unbuttoned and not having a tie on, talking about like respect and the office. Well, talking about like somebody like, bro, you look like you just got out of the pool.
Is this an attack on Andrew Yang's debate attire?
Also, at first it was the entire segment was about him wearing a tan suit, and then he flipped it at the end when it's like, oh, but look, your hero Ronald Reagan.
Yeah. And then he tried to say, well, it's not about the suit.
It's about, he could have worn whatever he wanted. Then why are we here?
Yeah, it's a metaphor. It is a metaphor, but it's not a metaphor about him. It's a metaphor about the criticism of him.
Frustrating. So this is the best we can do. I'm sorry, I cut you off, but it's so.
No, it's fine. So there's too many mosques in America, and so look, we can't go through his whole record, but he's one of the worst Islamophobes in all of Congress. But forget about that when you're eulogizing him. He occasionally was critical of Trump, so we can forget about all of that if you're Chuck Schumer. Then Eric Garner being choked out when there's not supposed to be any chokeholds. It's actually kind of Eric Garner's fault because he has asthma and because he's obese. If not for that, it would have been totally fine. That's what this great guy who's principled and never let others push him away from his principles, including standing with the police against the person, the unarmed person that they killed, that they never should have been in that situation with.
I mean, we're never gonna win when it comes to powerful people, rich people, famous people, getting along with people who cause harm to marginalized communities. We're never gonna stop that. That is gonna be a trend that is never going to end, right?
That's sad.
And I agree. I just can't see it ending.
Yeah.
What's even more frustrating is that he didn't have to send that tweet. That no one's even really legitimately asking him to cut his friend off.
Yeah.
We're beyond that.
He didn't.
But you didn't have to rub it in a bunch of marginalized communities in their faces. You didn't have to do that. Every day, Chuck Schumer is one of the people that we're leaning on. And you didn't have to do that. That was a celebratory thing because the people who see that, they know the real. You could have called him and said, I think you're a good guy. I think you're a great guy. That was
great job on the too many mosques thing.
Right.
Yeah.
That was, too many places of worship.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but we do have.
That was just a slap in the face to people everywhere.
Well, maybe this will ease the sting then, because Representative Ilhan Omar said Peter King is an Islamophobe who held McCarthyite hearings targeting American Muslims, which he also did, by the way. Said, quote, there are too many mosques in this country, and blamed Eric Garner for his own death. Good riddance. He also proposed setting up a federal Muslim surveillance program, so bear that in mind. But he's gonna go off, he's gonna retire, he can occasionally maybe get a drink with Chuck Schumer or other politicians who have supported him in the recent past, including Mike Bloomberg, who did a fundraiser for Peter King, but it was a long time ago, back in, 2018. So weird, this guy who wants to be the standard bearer for all of the Democratic Party, doing fundraisers for a Republican congressman just last year in the Trump era against his Democratic challenger.
Michael Bloomberg and Donald Trump, I know, are twins when it comes to stop and frisk.
Exactly.
I'm
we're gonna have a lot of stop and frisk.
Yeah. Okay, you're right.
So Peter King, bye, dude. For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.